Trooper Joe, and I'm here today at the True Image Barbershop, located at 85 Pleasant Street here in Worcester. Yep, and we're going to be doing an interview with the owner in a few minutes, and we'll be then going through the Barbershop Health Network with Keith Laporte. Keith Laporte will be giving whatever the Mosaic Barbershop Health Network does, and he'll be going through his procedures there. A little bit about the Barbershop Health Network's mission. Its mission is to, one, educate, increase the overall literacy with a specific focus on diabetes, prostate cancer, nutrition, and health. And they screening men for diabetes and hypertension. Refer men to quality, cultural, competent, local health providers and professionals. And they also, they give people knowledge of where access to locally grown and affordable produce are. Some of the alarming health disparities that you can find among the minority population here in Worcester and other places throughout the country and possibly the world itself. Diabetes. The prevalence of diabetes is higher among certain racial and ethnic groups in Massachusetts. More blacks and Hispanics have diabetes than whites. Heart disease. Although the prevalence of heart disease in blacks is lower than in whites, they are more likely to die from heart disease than their white counterparts. High blood pressure. High blood pressure has the highest rate. Blacks have the highest rate of high blood pressure than any other racial or ethnic group and suffer complications of high blood pressure, stroke, chronic kidney disease, and blindness at a higher rate. Nutrition and physical activity. People of color are less likely to engage in regular physical activities and are more likely to be overweight and obese. Only 44% of blacks and 41% of Hispanics and 42% of Asians report engaging in regular physical activities as compared to 54% of their white counterparts. Life expectancy. Overall, the life expectancy for men particularly men of color, is significantly shorter than that for women. For example, in Massachusetts, a female born in 2007 is expected to live 83 years, while male born in 2007 is expected to live 78 years, excuse me. In comparison, a black female born in 2007 is expected to live to 80 years, while a black male is only expected to live for 74 years. The overall cancer death rate for men in Massachusetts is 46%, higher than for women. Life expectancy for men of color is also significantly shorter than white counterparts. Alright, so this is a little bit about what we're going to be hearing about today while we're inside the barbershop here, which is located right behind me, and at Keith Laporte, one of the community health workers from the Mosaic Counter Complex, and we'll be there in just a few short minutes. Hi, I'm Trooper Joe, and I'm here with Jerry, the owner of the True Image Barbershop right here. Jerry, how'd you first come to hear about the Worcester Men's Health Alliance Barbershop Network?
Yeah, well, I believe it was Keith Laporte. He came to me and he was a customer at my barbershop for years, and he came to me with the idea, and I thought of it of a great opportunity to reach out to our men in the community in a positive way. So I agreed to join and went to check it out, and I've been on ever since.
I hear you say that you felt as though it was a positive thing that you were doing for the community, and you got a good response from your customers in that regard?
Yeah, every time we reach out to them and we try to educate them regarding the situation, they understand and they appreciate the time and effort that we put into it. and it's definitely good because a lot of them don't understand or don't go to the hospital, don't get the information that we bring to them, especially in the inner urban city. You know, it's definitely a good thing and good feedback, and I think it's going pretty well.
Not only are you active in spreading the health word around to your patrons through the Barbershop Network in that regard, but you're also part of their Save Our Men basketball tournament that they'll be hosting.
Yeah, that's an annual little tournament, friendly competition within all the barbershops. We put our teams together and we go to play basketball, and it's definitely a good turnout at every tournament, and it's fun. It's good to get all of our men together under one roof and positively, and it's definitely a fun event.
Now, all right, folks, we're now going to be doing our show that we have Keith do whatever he does with the Barbershop Network and everything. And we can hear from Jerry, this is such a positive thing within the city, that the people of color that have within the city, they have advocates to make sure that they're, not only are their hair trimmed up and they're looking good like him, but they also, you know, they got their body and their health. Yeah, and they're healthy, and it's a good thing like that. I want to thank you, Jerry. That's a good thing.
Hello, my name is Keith Laporte, and I am a community health worker for Mosaic Cultural Complex. I am in True Image Barbershop right now, one of the founding barbershops in the Barbershop Health Network. I'd like to let you know a little bit about the Barbershop Health Network. It is a partnership between Mosaic Cultural Complex and various barbershops to get together and take a community health worker like myself to come into this shop and to educate the barbers and their clients on health disparities ranging from hypertension, diabetes, and prostate cancer with shared decision making. The founding shops of the Barbershop Health Network are S. Styles, True Image, MVPs, Henrocks, and Worcester's Finest. In addition, we have gotten other shops to come on board, which are 1000 Watts, Michelangelo's, G's Cutting Up, Goodfellas, Pro Cuts, Main Event, and Fade Kings. They are all a part of what we call the Barbershop Health Network. Now, what we do is we get together and we talk about how we can impact our community through reaching people where they're at, which are in the barbershops. We have coming up an event May 17th called our 5th annual Saving Our Men's Tournament, basketball tournament, where all the barbershops come together and they get educated on health disparities such as prostate cancer shared decision making, and these are the teams, and they get screened for hypertension and diabetes.
Location of
the location is Main Street YMCA, and the time is 9 a.m. Be there for pre-registration. First game starts at 10. The Saving Our Men's Tournament, again, this is the 5th annual, and it's a success. It gets the community to come out and cheer for their local barbers and cheer for their local community members who might be playing. It's real competitive and it's real engaging. We love it. It's a success, and it's actually our flagship event. Hello again. Now, when we come into the shop to educate the men on prostate cancers, we have aids or props similar to this to be able to show men of color in the barbershop what a prostate looks like. Now, to educate them, we let them know where the prostate is located, under the bladder and in front of the rectum. And we actually show them with this aid right here what a normal prostate would look like. This is what a normal prostate would look like. And then it goes through its stages of being detected for cancer. So as you see, you go on with a normal walnut-sized prostate, it gets bigger, it gets larger, and then as time goes on and the tumors start to grow, it starts getting bumps on it. And the bumps get bigger and bigger to the point where now the whole prostate now is actually full of tubes. So this is a very key visual for people to see in the shops, because as we know, prostate cancer is one of the silent killers for men of color.
More?
And we're trying to get men to understand that getting screened, getting a DRE, which is a digital rectal exam, or PSA, which is a prostate-specific antigen that they will find in your blood, which are the early determining factors of having potentially signs of prostate cancer, to go further on into screening. But again, this visual aid and what we bring into the shops with prostate cancer awareness is very key, not only for the barbershops but for the community, because we would like them to take more interest in their health, which is taking more interest into their prostate. Now, the second thing we do in the barbershops is we educate men on diabetes. Now, with diabetes, we have been fortunate for the CDC to give us a great thing called the Road to Health Toolkit. Now, what this does is give you a quick presentation on diabetes. What we would do is go through it real quick, and we would talk about the instructions of community health workers on how to present it. Then you go into the flip charts, which starts off with a scenario of the Williams family, and they talk about I see our future. She's 28, he's 32, he's a realtor, and type 2 diabetes does not have to be a part of our destiny. Now they say this because it's a part of their family history. It goes on now to talk about what diabetes affects. Diabetes causes blindness, stroke, heart disease, kidney disease, and amputations. You know, and type 2 diabetes affects our family, but it doesn't have to hurt my health. So now this is the Williams family understanding what heart disease does, and then you go on to now healthy options. Diabetes runs in our family, but you don't have to claim it. You can make small changes, which is 1, exercise, diet, and constantly being aware of your weight. Because again, weight is an indicating factor of diabetes. And this is reading labels. When you have diabetes, this is very important to read your labels. It teaches you how to read your labels.
Slow down.
Again, yes, reading labels is key. Because you got to understand serving size per container, calories, the total fat in it, and then you got to really read your labels to know what you're putting in your body. And then you have now what we call the interesting facts behind serving sizes. So this is not serving sizes, healthy alternatives to changing. So you have potato chips. 1 ounce bag of potato chips, which aren't that healthy, equals, so let's say 2 spoons of fat. The alternative to that would be pretzels, which is a half a spoon of fat. So these are all alternatives, from fried chicken to baked, broiled, stewed chicken, from donuts to puddings, from macaroni and cheese to low-fat macaroni and cheese. Now all this does is talk about limiting the fat content in your food, or getting a healthy alternative. The next chart will go into now what some of the foods you put in your body, what are they made up of? So you're talking about a quarter pounder. It's 668 calories. Out of that 668 calories, 361 are fat. 40.1 grams of fat, and it's crazy. A large fry, 426 calories. Large soda, 413 total calories. And 106 of the soda is just grams of sugar. So it teaches you what's in the food that you're eating. And then there's a system called the red light, green light method, which it goes to, it's like a stop sign. When you go to eating and you think about eating these foods, you have to have something that says, you know what? Let me stop and not eat this quarter pounder burger, the fried chicken, the hot dog, the cake, you know, and then think about the yellow stuff that you can and can't have, candy yams, arroz con pollo, and then the stuff that are really good for you that you can eat anytime, any day, which are the vegetables and the fruits. So the red light, yellow light, green light method. And then it goes to the serving sizes, which I talked about earlier, which is a light bowl is 1 serving size of vegetables. A deck of cards is 1 serving size of meat. And the ice cream scoop is 1 serving size of rice, cereal, and potatoes. And these are so key because, as you know, in our household, we add on the rice, we throw on all the carbs, we make up for not having the meat by adding more rice and potatoes. And now this is preventing type 2 diabetes, exercising. 30 minutes of exercise, doctor recommended a day. You know, whether it be jumping rope, walking, or running, you know, 30 minutes can prevent type 2 diabetes, exercising. Then we go into the next slide, which is how to make exercise easy. I added 1 healthy change a month and broke up my physical activity into smaller parts during the day. So there you go, a healthy alternative to exercising is breaking them up into different sections throughout the whole day, you know, and that's key with diabetes is physical activity. So now you're actually obtaining your goals. You're eating healthy, you have healthy alternatives. Now you're exercising and you're breaking it up during the day, you're reading labels, you are actively engaged in your health when it comes to diabetes, type 1 and type 2. So these is real important when we talk in a community of culture and color, because we tend to not read labels. We tend to pile on the rice. And health aids like this are real important when we come into the barbershop and be able to give them a visual aid to show them what serving size looks like, reading the labels look like, and exercise. So yes, we love to come in the shop and educate them on diabetes. Done.
The results of that study, again, it was this huge longitudinal national survey of black and white males in particular, found that the impact of experiences with racial discrimination on blood pressure levels for African American men was equal to the impact of smoking, equal to the impact of insufficient exercise, equal to the impact of eating a high-fat, high-sodium diet. Experiences with discrimination on the part of those men, equal to those things, all of which we've defined as public health problems. Smoking, a public health problem. Bad diet, lack of exercise, we see them, we view them, we understand them as a public health crisis. But what the research that has been out now for almost 15 years tells us is that experiences with discrimination are just as causal in that regard, or at least as highly correlated. Why? Let's talk about the why, because it's one thing to understand what the outcomes are, but it's also important to understand why that's happening. There are 2 real explanations that studies now going back over a decade, almost 2 decades, have demonstrated. And it's not just 1 or 2 studies. There are literally dozens of them, hundreds of them by now, almost none of which entered the debate on healthcare, almost none of which entered the national consciousness in the discussion around healthcare reform over the course of the last 18 months. First is the issue of what experts call weathering, right? The notion of a weathering effect, the cumulative impact of experience with racial bias on black and brown bodies. What that research has found is that experience with discrimination in particular, this is the way in which the pathway to illness causes an increase in the release of adrenaline, causes a release in cortisol, right, and other stress hormones, which are directly correlated with and even sometimes causal with increases in blood pressure, the increase in adrenaline in particular, especially if it's sort of constant and ongoing and unrelenting, can cause scarring in arteries that's directly related to issues of heart disease later on down the line. We know that, according to those who've looked at this, they call it allostatic load. Some of you probably heard that phrase and others maybe have not. Allostasis is just a fancy term for the way that the body in normal conditions allows itself to return to a steady state. Right? Allostasis is the idea that when exposed to various stress, the body has some sort of internal self-protective mechanism by which it can go back to normal, right, and deal with and cope with stress. But what the researchers have found is, with regard to those who were being regularly exposed to various forms of racial discrimination, and particularly what they call microaggressions, not the blatant stuff, not the over-the-top stuff, but the kind of stuff that young man at St. Joe's was talking about. The look, the glance, the comment, the questioning of their competence, being followed around, or are they in the store? Being looked at strangely, or are they in the store? Being given less customer service, or are they? Hard to tell, don't know, but it sure feels that way. That kind of microaggression on a regular basis, leading to allostatic load or allostatic overload, which makes it very difficult then for the body to return to a steady state. It affects, in particular, with regard to women, since we're talking about infant mortality and low birth weight, it affects the endocrine milieu in which the placenta either forms correctly and attaches correctly and develops correctly, or doesn't. So that is the pathway through which the infant mortality, the lower birth weight, happens when exposed to stress, when those women during pregnancy and even before pregnancy, but certainly during pregnancy, are affected to those types of stressors, which make it more difficult for the body to return to a steady state. We know that when measurements of allostatic load have been taken between people of color and white folks, for example, so we look at the cortisol levels, we look at the adrenaline levels, we look at the levels of other stress hormones that all can be gauged in the body, they can all be scientifically studied. We find that poor white folks actually have lower markers of allostatic loading than affluent African Americans. So you can take white folks who are at the bottom of the economic barrel, and their levels of those various markers for allostatic overload will be better, right, than the markers for African American folks who are at the upper end of the income spectrum. Research at the CDC has found, for example, that African Americans, when they sleep, are not having their blood pressure drop the way that white folks' blood pressure drops when we sleep. People sleep, the idea is your body is relaxing, your blood pressure is, at least in theory, supposed to drop. That's the physiology of it. But among African Americans who are being studied, it's not dropping the same way. Something is happening. The cardiovascular engine being gunned constantly, over and over again. And even when poverty is not in the picture, even when economic deprivation is not in the picture, even when lifestyle is healthy, when diet is healthy, when smoking and drinking are not evident, that is what is happening for African American folks. And again, I want to emphasize the importance of microaggressions here as opposed to macroaggressions. One of the reasons that these disparities are in some ways taking off now, and even bigger, I mean, cancer rate disparities, for instance, are greater now than they were in the 1950s between white and black folks, right? So even though the overall health of both whites and blacks has gotten better since the 50s, make no mistake, right? The overall health of Latinos and Asians, and I mean, anyone in the country, the health generally is better than it was 50 or 100 years ago, but the disparities, the gaps between different groups have actually grown. And you might think, well, now how is that possible? In the 1950s and in years before that, when the system was such a formal apartheid system, a formal white supremacist system, blatant racism all around, wouldn't it be worse then? And that's why microaggressions are so important, because what the research says is that, in fact, in the face of macroaggression, in the face of obvious and blatant racism, the body actually can cope with that better, right? May seem strange, may seem counterintuitive, but if you think about it, it makes sense.
We got the wrap-up signal, so we got to wrap it up.
Oh, we're wrapping?
Yes. Okay. And thank you guys for tuning in. This is a conversation that we're going to be having. We've got a lot of other topics to discuss. If you'd like to join the topics, you can go to Black Legacy Online. You can go on Facebook. You can like us on Twitter. And if you have a topic that we should be talking about that we haven't talked about, you can go on there and put the topic up, and we'll gladly talk about it.
And don't worry, Joe and his crew will be out on the street getting your opinions on certain things to be a part of this television show.
Trooper Joe's taking it to the streets with Polly Jones, and
we out.